Hello, welcome back to the corporate burnouts. Hey, Mandy, how are you?
Doing so good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How was your weekend?
It was so good. We had a slightly fun weekend with friends, just doing outdoor stuff. And on Sunday, we did almost nothing. So it was a good balance. I always need at least one day, or else I feel like I didn't get a weekend, even though it's so
Yeah.
fun, but I need a little bit of rest on my weekends too. So we went over to Grafton, which is where you've been there. We had
Yeah.
my bachelorette there. And it was fun. We sat by the pool. Usually we just go by river there, but we just decided to go over on the ferry and we sat by
hmm
the pool and we went to a couple bars and had food, and it was just a good afternoon. There was a lot of people in Grafton. It was a good time.
I
So it
love
was a good
it.
weekend.
I can't relate. I
Hmm.
chased out of town this weekend. It's a long stretch of working, opening a new Costco, so it's fine. I'm not bitter. Truly, I'm
Hmm.
not bitter. I was alone this weekend. My girls went on a road trip. They went to see some family out in East Texas. So Saturday, I literally did not do one thing. Like, not one thing. I got out of bed a couple of times, but then it was like, why? It's more comfortable in there. I'm going to go watch TV in there. Like,
Yeah.
so I literally did nothing. And then on Sunday, I was like, okay, like, come on. So I took a shower, got myself fully ready, went to Target because I needed toothpaste. And then, you know, I just needed to be in the presence of other people. I don't need to
Hmm.
hang out with people. I don't need to talk to them. I just need to be where the humans are, you know?
Hmm.
So then I
Yeah.
went to the grocery store, set myself up for the next week, came home, and all the while it was kind of perfect that I was not super busy because, like I said, the girls went on a road trip and it was their very first time to go on a long drive like this by themselves. As you well know, they're 16 and
Hmm.
17, so it's like I don't want to let them do hard things by themselves. It's
Yeah. And Granny's is
instinctual.
6 hours, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a
it's
long drive. I mean,
yeah.
I live in West Texas. Our family is in East Texas, and, Texas
Hmm.
ain't small, friends.
Yeah.
It was probably a good 7-hour drive. Now,
Hmm.
they stopped in Fort Worth and did shopping on the way, and that's all well and good. And then on the way back, they had a couple of stops to make. And anyways, all that to say, there is a crackdown on speed going on right now. From what I understand, this may be more than just in Texas because
Hmm.
I've had friends outside of Texas. Talissa was on a road trip this last
Hmm.
weekend, and she had heard a bunch of things about it, said that there were troopers everywhere on her drive to Texas from Tennessee. And so I'm texting Paisley, don't speed. This is a thing. And I'm forwarding everything on social media that I'm finding, don't speed, don't speed. And she's like, Mom, I've only seen one cop. I'm going to go 85. It is a long drive. And I'm like, some lessons, I guess, have to be learned the hard way. But if you want to pay for your own insurance and pay for the ticket and all the things, okay. But it definitely got me thinking about, we're planning this conversation that we're going to have today. And it's so real that parentally, as speaking as an elder millennial,
Hmm.
we do not do a great job of letting our kids learn to solve their own problems. It's our instinct to make life easy for them and to do all the things. I just wanted to get in her head, literally go into her head and compute we do not speed.
Yeah.
just don't
Yeah.
do it, don't learn the
Mhm.
hard way, just
Mhm.
don't do it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work that way. And putting that into context of the corporate world or even just the working world as an adult, looking at these kids that are coming up in Gen Z that is already in the workforce, of how it's crazy, because I really think as parents, we have done an entire generation a disservice in the life skills that we give them, because we just want to do it for them. We want to make everything
Mhm.
easy. We want them to get it right the first time. And I think maybe partially that's because it was hard. We had to freaking figure it out. I mean, I don't know about you, but my mom was at work and she was like, "Girl, figure it out.
Yeah.
If I'm not there to
Well,
start dinner, figure it out."
but also I think that it's control issues too that we
Yeah,
got, you know? It's not that we don't want the poor babies to have to do it themselves, it's that they're gonna do it wrong, you know? Like
yeah, you're not
we
wrong.
need to do it for them. And so I truly think that just overall, millennials and Gen X have done a huge disservice to Gen Z. And while
Parentally.
parentally, we did a episode, I don't maybe a year ago. I don't know how long it was. We'll have to look it up. We'll tag it in here about what Gen Z is doing right in the
Yeah.
workforce. And I loved that episode. I loved talking about that because I truly believe that Gen Z has figured out some stuff and broken some of the cycles that we were trained and have taught millennials a little bit about taking care of themselves in the workplace and not letting it run all over them. However, we are also seeing that that Gen Z might be prepared. They're smart. They can learn things.
Yep.
They might be prepared to do the marketing job, to be lawyers, to be, all of these different professions. But the managers who are, training them, who are employing them, are
Yeah.
saying that they have some deficits,
Yeah.
and it makes sense based on all the things that we help
Everything that
these
I
kids
just
with.
said, right? The control issues of the
Mhm,
millennial and Gen X parents are like, we've created the problem that we now have in corporate America with this new generation of people coming into the workforce who, they don't like confrontation. They don't want to have hard conversations. They don't really know how to do them,
mhm.
probably because mama's been telling them what to say
For
on the
sure. But
side.
I think that it's not even just that they don't like confrontation because they are happy to stand up for themselves. They don't want to have hard conversations. And it's
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 what they
kind of
receive.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah. Like,
it's really crazy. And they're used to having hard conversations with their parents, but they don't know how to have hard conversations. They're used to being polite to all of the,
mhm.
people out in the world, and now they have to have these hard conversations. They literally don't know
Well,
how.
I mean, it's a generation that would prefer to text. They order
Mhm,
food through an app. They do their banking through an app. Like, I can remember in our corporate job dealing with people in a restaurant, like, we've got these kids running a host stand, and it's like your whole job is to talk to people, to be friendly, to be
mhm,
welcoming, and to like interact. And it's like, if we had just gave every guest a cell phone and gave our like it would be wonderful. These
mhm,
people operate digitally, and that's
mhm,
created a little bit of a monster in them too in their communication skills, but I don't even think it's just communication skills that are the complaints of Gen Z, but also it is the problem solving skills. It's those soft skills, the office etiquette, the
mhm,
how you interact with other people. And I know I'm going back to all communication things, but
mhm.
there's a vast array of soft skills that I think they're missing. And it kind of doesn't matter whose job it was to give them to them. I don't know where all of mine originated necessarily
Mhm.
because those are not necessarily things that are taught in college, right? Like they're teaching you math and they're teaching you history and you get a little bit of your subject matter in your major or whatever, but like nobody's telling you how to accept constructive criticism in a performance review and, you know, take the good and leave the rest and figure out what you can learn from it and move on. Like nobody's telling you all of
Well,
these things
kind
during
of.
that
No one
process.
no one told you. No one said, I'm gonna teach you something right now. But the
Uh-huh.
way that we learned those things was through being on teams, and the kids are still on teams,
Mhm.
right? But by being on teams and being coached by your coaches, right? But
Yeah.
we also, like I said, I'm going to put most of the blame on the millennials and the Gen X parents. Like they're the ones who are like my kid doesn't need coaching from you. He's already perfect,
Yes. They've
and
had
it's
somebody in their corner.
yes, and so, like, what I love the most and something that, my bonus kids, their parents did,
Mhm.
was they made them have to communicate with their coaches. So if they couldn't be at practice, they had to send that email or call or whatever. If they had a problem, you know what I mean? Like, it was always had to
It's
be
up to
dealt
them to
with
fix
by
it.
them,
Mhm.
and I
They're
can't
stronger because of it.
Yes, I can't think of a time where they, like, went to the mat for one of the kids because no one has been unfair, you know what I mean? Like, there
Yeah.
are coaches that are, better than others, but no one has been completely unfair where a parent had to stand up for the kid because it's been really fair and the kids need to learn these things, right? But I do think that we see it and we hear it from teachers and we, like we hear
Mhm.
all these things like that parents are overstepping and making it so their kids can't learn this.
Oh,
We
you see
were
that in
basically,
sports a ton.
yes, yeah, but we were told that we were the problem by our parents and our teachers, right? So
Mhm.
we had to learn our way out of it. We had to figure out how to solve those problems and figure out how to make people not hate us, and we had to, like all the things that these kids maybe are being shielded from. I think that the other thing you said, that they don't like phone calls, they like to text. It's like we did have to talk face to face a lot more.
Well, think
And
about Gen Z, like, and what COVID did. Like, these people interviewed over Zoom, right? Like,
yeah,
they weren't
people
brought up
still are
the
though.
same way.
Yep.
Well, right, but that's all they know. So once they get in the office, it's
Yeah.
like, how do you interact with people that aren't a flat screen in front of you?
hmm
Like, they just went through such a different formative time that,
hmm
again, I don't know whose responsibility it is or was to teach those things, or it kind of doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, these, I want to call them kids. That makes me sound really old because they're adults,
Yeah.
right? But
Some of them.
this generation,
hmm
Gen Z as a whole, they're in the workforce now.
hmm
So it doesn't matter if mama didn't teach them. It doesn't matter if college didn't teach, or whatever life experience that they had didn't teach them. The fact of the matter is they're here now and they don't have it. So
hmm
if I am a leader, whether I'm a boomer, a Gen Xer, a Gen Zer, like, it's now my job. It's
hmm
now has to be like, if you are one of those leaders and you're like, I can't stand it, da 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 da, you can be mad about it. You can maybe choose not to hire Gen Z,
hmm
or you can go, what can I do to make this work? And I'm
hmm
not taking all the responsibility off of those individuals. You have to be self aware and you have to be willing to learn and develop and grow and put that effort in yourself. But somebody's got to bridge that gap, because
Yeah.
it is a deficit that they have.
Definitely, but what's interesting is that within maybe not everywhere, maybe not every school, but I
Mhm.
have the interns every year, and so they go through the CAPS program, and the CAPS
Uh-huh.
program is made for this, right? It's teaching
Yeah, it's
soft skills.
so great that
It's
it
teaching,
exists.
yes, it's teaching them what jobs are out there, it is teaching them how to interact with other business people, people who own businesses, people who they might work for one day. It's incredible what it's doing. Every
Mhm.
school needs that, and every kid needs to go through it. This is very, elective. Not all the
Yeah.
kids do it, right? But I wish that they all would, because two things. Some kids need to go to college and go get a professional degree to do something that they need a degree for. And some people need to go directly into, learning how to start
A
a business,
trade.
and
Yeah.
yeah, or a trade, or there are so many different ways to go, and I didn't know what I wanted to do at that time, and I didn't have all the information, but they are taught that. So I'm interviewing, they're taught how to interview.
Mhm.
I'm interviewing interns for this past year, and they know exactly what to say. Like
Yeah.
they have been trained. They don't completely know what they're saying though, right? So they were one of the questions that I ask everybody, because I think it's very important, is how do you like to be communicated with when there's something you need to be coached or taught about?
Yeah, how do you wanna receive feedback?
And everybody except for one girl, and she was a big red flag, she said, I really can only do that on text. And I'm like, well, we will really not be getting along, you know?
Yeah, you're not the one.
No, but she was just the fully introverted, like fully insulated,
Mhm.
she wasn't gonna be able to handle it. She was too anxious, and she's gonna struggle a little bit. I hope that she finds the perfect place for herself so that it's not such a shock, right? But the other kids, they all said, immediate I want feedback immediately, don't wait. And they all said I would like it face to face or on the phone, because
And they
they
all
were,
wanted it really direct.
yes, very direct. And that is untrue.
That is a
Some kids,
bullshit
yeah,
lie. Like,
right.
they know that that's what they're supposed to want, that
Yes.
is the best answer,
Yeah.
but they know that it's supposed to be there, but it's never been in great practice, right?
Well, and there's some scars around it, right?
Yeah.
So nobody likes feedback. I mean,
Yeah, it
some people
sucks.
probably really like it because they have their mindset right about that it's to make you better, but like in general, nobody likes it. Everyone wants to feel like they're the best and that no one can find a single thing that they could be doing better. And that is unsustainable, right? So
Mhm.
these kids, we had a couple of conversations that I was like, wow, like this is difficult because what I need to say is very direct, not mean. You
Mhm.
know, there's still kid gloves on because I was dealing with kids, not
Yeah.
25-year-old Gen
Uh-huh.
Zs. These kids were in high school. It's different. But it's like you can be trained, but you have to be actively working towards it too.
Yeah.
And who is going to teach it if not, like if there's not a CAPS program or some other type of program like that, who's teaching it? And does it have to be the corporations or the businesses that hire Gen Z?
Yeah.
I think that it does. And
Well, the fact of the matter is by the time they get there, they either have it or they don't. And if they
Mhm.
don't have it, you can't just fire and choose to not hire an entire generation of people, right? Like we can't just be like,
No, they're
well,
the
they're
workforce.
not good
They're
at
the
this.
future. Yeah. Mhm.
That's our future. This is the pool that you have
Mhm.
to draw from. So it's like we can bitch about it all day long, or we can be part of the solution as leaders in the workforce and go, okay, I'm seeing that we have a deficit on this, 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 and this. Maybe it is confrontation. Maybe it is communication or etiquette or, receiving feedback. There's so many
Or
aspects
email
of this.
skills, or I mean, it literally,
Right.
it's
But
so
like
there's so many things.
clock
Mhm.
it and then, okay, what are we going to do about it? Right.
Mhm.
Let me create some scenarios where you get to learn about this. And to your point, I think even beyond the children of it all, when you're talking about dealing with high schoolers, those kid gloves, like people in general need to know that when you are giving feedback, that it's coming from a good place and that it's truly for their benefit and that you care.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you develop that relationship with these people and you're able to do that in a way that they can actually grow, you're going to be better for it. They're going to be better for it. Your company's going to be better
Mhm.
for it. Like, should it be part of corporate's job? I don't know. I can't fix it.
No, but
It
do you
just kind
want
of it
to
is what it is.
work
They're already
yeah.
here.
Do you want to work well with these people, right?
Right.
Because let's just say you don't work on this. You beat your head
Hmm.
against the wall and you make videos like some of those people who make videos about how they work with Gen Z and, they have skits about how they call and say, I'm going to be 30 minutes late,
Yeah.
and you don't do anything about it to try and help them realize why it's important to be on time or whatever.
Yeah.
and then and then you complain about the conversations and how it's such a crapshoot with how you handle the feedback with them. And then like you can beat your head against the wall, and just like when we've had people that we work with where we're like, this sucks, like this is not going well, and you just deal with it the whole time. It's like, let's try and fix it before we're 20 years down the road and this is just what work is
How
like.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a scary part is that though these people that don't want to deal with Gen Z don't want to and don't feel like they should have to,
Mhm.
if they don't, that is our future. That literally is
It
our
is.
future
It
of
is. We're all gonna age out.
excuses.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's not going to be anybody left to solve their problems for them. And what in the
Mhm.
world are they going to teach the generations that come
Mhm.
after them? Like, I
Yeah.
feel really, really old having that conversation. Like, this is the kind of
Mhm.
shit that my parents talked about, my grandparents talked about. And you're like, oh my God, we're
Yeah,
going to be
and it's
fine.
always it's always a yeah, it's always a, like, that's the future, that's our
Yeah.
future, right?
Yep.
And the thing is that these Gen Z, they are a lot of things that I respect, right?
Yeah.
There are just a few deficits on the soft skills, on some of these the problem solving specifically, some of those things that and it's not all of them, right? Because some
Yeah.
of them you said, who's supposed to teach them? I
Some of
mean,
them were taught.
parents
Yeah.
taught. Let's just say, okay, so my bonus kids, one time we were all out to eat with their mom and their stepdad, and we're sitting there waiting for our food, and Anna hands the kids both like a piece of paper and says, write out like an address and a return address, and like make this look like you would if you were going to send it in the mail, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, are they going to know how to do this? And because I have done it a zillion times, but everything's done online now. They don't send
Yeah.
letters. They don't mail bills. They don't
Mm-hmm.
do any of that. Now they see mail on the counter from time to time. You know what I mean? I'm sure. So it was just interesting. They were very close, like it was very close, but it's like those things you might get hired for a job and have never seen that, you
Yeah.
know? Like, parents, teach your kids some of these things that may seem outdated, but they might have to do in a work setting,
Yeah.
because I
Well, it's
guarantee
really
that there's
funny
still
that
a
you say
department
that.
everywhere that does that.
I was designing a postcard a little while back, and obviously, on a postcard, you're going to have one side that's going to have all kinds of content, full
Mhm.
page, all the things. And on the other side, there's going to be a little bit over here, but you have to save room for where you're going to put your return address and the address for whatever. And my daughter literally looked at it and was like, why did you just leave a whole half of that blank? Well, it's not going in an envelope. So what do you mean? And she's like, well, right. But like that looks weird. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's a postcard. It
Yeah.
has to have an address. Like
Yeah, it
when the
looks
address, it's going
normal
to
if you
look
know what this looks
complete.
like. Yeah.
Right. Once there's an address on here and it actually gets mailed, you would look
Mhm.
at it and go, okay, yeah, cool, that's normal. But
Mhm.
in the design process, it was like, why would you do that? And I'm like, oh my God, okay.
Yeah, you just don't
You haven't
know
had to
you don't
deal
know
with
what you
mail
don't
yet.
know. Mhm. Yeah. So that's the interesting part. And what are all of those things, right? Like,
Yeah.
what is that list? It makes me want to create some kind of like training, like soft skills training systems, because it is so important. And you and I talked before this, like, where did we learn all this stuff? And it really was just our parents being like, get
Figure
out of
it
the
out.
house, like I think we both had parents, moms at least, that wanted to guide us through life, right? But they worked a lot, and like,
They
we
had
had
a
to.
life of their own,
Yeah.
and in order to fund the life, like, we were
Mhm.
in, dual income homes.
Yeah.
There was no Susie homemaker at
Mm-mm.
home, like, "If I'm not home by dinner, figure it out."
Right. But so much of it feels, I always said, I am not the most book smart. Like, I don't like to memorize history stuff
Yeah.
or biology. Like, that stuff is difficult for me. But I am street smart. And I was always
Mhm.
really proud of that. But I think that it just is something that I had to pick up, because you have to
Well,
be independent in life. Like, you have
yeah.
to be able to do life all by yourself. And so I had to figure those things out.
It's interesting to me that you say that because when you are street smart, and I would say the same thing about myself, and you've kind of scratched and clawed your way here with, yes, you had loving parents and all the things. You had a mom who wanted to guide you through life, but she wasn't the one that taught you all the things that got you there with your
Right.
street smarts, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
How do you teach children to be street smart when you weren't taught? You just learned. You can't, it's like a thing that has
Well,
to,
you have
it's
to
almost
put
like it
them in
has to happen to
scenarios.
you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
And
Mhm.
we're protecting them from the scenarios. Like
Mhm.
it goes back to the speed trap, like I want to protect you from this thing that's going to teach you a lesson because I don't want you to go through what I went through to get to where I know all the
Mhm.
things that make me street smart. And you can't have one without the other, right?
Mhm.
You can't have children who have never wanted anything that they didn't receive be grateful in the way that you're grateful, because what made you grateful is the electricity got turned off every now and again, like, "Ooh, we might not have water," like,
Mhm.
it goes back to, like, wanting your kids to have better than you had, so you do too
Yeah, and then
much.
you make it too cushy.
Yeah.
Well, and so, what's also interesting to me, something I was just thinking about. So, we've been talking about AI a lot lately,
Mhm.
and what I've noticed, it seems like Gen Z is not as into AI as us, and that's something that
Yeah,
Kelly was mentioning, right?
and I love that,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna have to get on board with
Yep.
it at some point, but what I think, it probably doesn't interest them a lot, because you have to know how to talk to it. You have to know what to ask it. Like, it's a research tool. Like,
Mhm.
it's going to help you no matter what. I know that I can figure something out with AI. Like, I know that I can figure it out. The other day though, okay, so we're in the car. I asked Dan, because not everyone knows how to research either, which I think is a huge skill. People need
Uh-huh.
to learn. That is a huge soft skill. To be able to learn how to research is humongous. So Dan does not have the experience in researching. And I ask him to find out something for us. I don't know. And he asks in such a weird way. He just asks Google, and he asks in a really weird way. And I was like, we're not going to get the answer we're looking for with him asking like that. And it gave a really basic answer that really wasn't related to because he just asked in an odd way. And I was like, ask it like this. And I'm like, that I didn't realize that that was a skill to know exactly
To
because
know
I
how
always,
to formulate a smart question. Well,
yes.
and you're making the point, like, that is one of the complaints about Gen Z is that they don't
Hmm.
even ask questions. They don't know how
Right.
to ask.
Yeah. Right. It's just it's stuck, right? I don't
Mhm.
know how to get there because I don't know even what question to ask. Or I've always thought that it was because they felt uncomfortable asking, they don't want to look dumb or something like that. But it
It's
might be,
probably part of that.
yeah, might be just not knowing exactly what to ask to get the answer that you're looking for. I mean, in
Mhm.
the very least, it's like, hey, I'm stuck. Can you help me?
Yeah.
That
But then it's like, "Okay, what do you need?" "Well, I don't know."
right. And so this is again, I don't want any of this to seem like we're tearing apart Gen Z, but we're not putting this on them. Like we need to figure out how to move everything
Well,
forward.
that's the
But
thing, right? There's
mhm,
joint responsibility.
mhm,
We did this to them, and I say we did, like, you were responsible for your own children, and I get that, but, like,
mhm,
generationally, we created this mess. We have to be part of cleaning it up.
mhm. Yeah. Well, I think that we have already talked about that we need to be teaching them this once they get into the workforce because you can potentially, I mean, avoid hiring young people right now,
Mhm.
but that
Not for long.
not for long and that's discrimination and you could get your company in trouble.
Yeah, that's a
But
problem,
you could say it's because they're not qualified because they might not be qualified to you
and
because
it
they
could
don't
be
have these
accurate.
soft
Yeah,
skills, right? But the people in the workforce looking for jobs, that pool will be getting smaller of people who are not Gen Z at some point.
yeah.
And so we need to teach them and we need to a little bit get on their level, right?
Mhm.
So there are things that they need to learn, but there are also things that we can do to make it really more comfortable in general to work with Gen Z and I think that it's a change that needed to happen for everyone anyway, right?
Yeah.
Boomers were very much the like scare tactics. They're like, "We'll kill you if you don't work hard," you know?
Well, that was the expectation set for them based
Mhm.
on how they grew up and what the circumstances were, and that all makes perfect sense.
Mhm.
They were how they were based on their surroundings in the same way that Gen Z is how they are
Mhm.
because of their surroundings. But, going back to that, let's talk about the difference in the generations and
Yeah.
who they are and why.
Yeah. Well,
Boomers,
the
we know,
boomers,
like,
yeah.
they
Mhm.
were trained to be loyal and to put their head down and keep working and stay at the company for their entire career, like, make sure
Mhm.
you get the clock at the end of that 50 years.
Well, and it didn't matter if you weren't happy. You just needed to keep doing it because this is what it
Yeah.
took to raise a family. And
Yeah, and your
so you
job comes
couldn't.
before everything else in your life. This is
Mhm.
what provides your worth.
Mhm.
That's what they were
Absolutely.
taught. Gen
Mhm.
X, a little bit different. They were independent, very independent, because boomers were obviously caught up in the work is the most important thing. They learned to be really self-sufficient and workaholics. That's what I
Mhm.
see a lot in Gen X.
Yeah. Workaholics, and they still have that kind of brainwashed, like, everyone should work as hard as me. And if you're not working as hard as me, like, you should be here
Yeah.
before the sun comes up because that's what I do.
They're
And
workplace martyrs.
they are, they're
Big time,
martyrs.
but they're also
Yeah.
really skeptical, like, they are, known for being cynical,
Mhm.
right? They were brought up in that this is how it has to be, and by God, if I had to do it, you're gonna do it too. Like,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah, you're not getting out of this, right?
yep,
And they thought that millennials were entitled because
yeah,
millennials came in with some of us the exact same feelings and thoughts like I want everyone to work as hard as me, have that work ethic
yeah.
and be loyal and all that stuff, but they were starting to figure out that maybe work isn't why we're alive, you know?
Well, and I think the millennials that are learning that through Gen Z a little bit because I think it has a lot more to do with what was going on in the world when millennials came into their own, right? So,
Mhm.
like, recessions, layoffs that were happening to people that had given the loyalty to company after 20
Mhm.
years. It's still happening. Like, technology has shifted greatly during that time. So, there's just so many things that have shaped how and why millennials are the way they are. We appear to be entitled, but it's like I don't find myself to be entitled because I think that I should be able to own a home as easily as Gen Xers did. But the fact of the matter is, the world we live in has made that to be not so.
Mhm.
We're
Yeah.
not playing the same game that they were
Yeah.
playing.
The
So
world
it all,
changed.
yeah.
And COVID happened, and so many people realized that it really isn't all about work. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, that was the defining thing for me. I was like, I need to have some balance because I'm
Yeah.
missing out on my life.
And at some
Mhm,
point, millennials were like, whoa,
mhm.
the
And they
corporate ladder
realized,
doesn't have to be the only way. And
yeah.
I think
Mhm,
we're probably the first generation that normalized we can do this a little bit differently.
mhm. Yes, but there's still enough people who are like, I can't, like the insecurity of I need the corporation, I need
Mhm.
the, like I need that stability because everything got really freaking expensive and I've got kids and all of those things.
Yep.
So Gen Z is coming in and everyone hates the newest generation in the workforce. That's
And it
just how
doesn't
it
even
is.
matter which generation you're talking about. Everybody hates the ones that come next. It
Yes.
just is what
Well,
it is because 'cause they're different.
and they're young, right?
Mhm.
So whenever you start to hate them, they're young and they don't have kids yet
Yeah,
and
and you're
they're
just jealous. You're
yeah, you're
just
just
jealous.
jealous. Yeah. But they're just living a way that is kind of carefree and they're like, we're not going to put up with this
Yeah.
because that's why that's why Gen X said that millennials were entitled because I'm sure we came in the exact same way like, nah, this is not how we're going to do things.
Huh.
And we weren't able to make a change just like Gen Z has not been able to make a real change, but
Well, because they're not in upper leadership yet.
they're not. But what I'm saying is that they are the least prepared that any workforce has been, in my opinion. Now,
Yep.
that's me looking at it from,
Well, of course, they're not
43 years old.
prepared.
Mhm.
They're not prepared to play by 2 generation above them's rules,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
that makes sense. We weren't prepared to live the life of a boomer. We
Mhm.
bucked that too.
Yeah.
Every generation is going to have that. But like
Mhm.
Gen Z is like, they've got non negotiables, man. Nobody's talking about mental health in the boomer side of things, right? Like way back when they were coming
No.
up, that was
They're
not a
like
thing. Now Gen Z are like, that's normal. A
mhm.
mental health day, that's not weird.
Mhm.
That's normal and that's good. That's good.
It
They're
is.
willing to ask for flexibility.
Mhm.
They're going to take the time off that, oh, by the way, they are owed. They earned
Mhm.
that, right?
Yeah.
Like that should not be a negative thing. They're going to say no to overtime. I work to support my life. I don't
Mhm.
work because it is my life. And that's not wrong. Yeah.
So, with all of that being said, I think that the things that they do want everything to be fun. And that is
They just
like
want to enjoy what it is that they're
yes, and the
doing.
thing is that I have very mixed feelings about that, right?
Hmm.
Because I agree. I agree. I want for what I'm doing to be fun for me, right? Now, it
Hmm.
can't always be fun like anyone who I invited in would be having fun,
Yeah.
but I need it to be fun in some kind of stimulating way for me because
At least
otherwise
fulfilling. Yeah.
yes, so I understand that, right? They want for their boundaries to be respected. They want for all of these things to happen. And so what I want is for managers to start thinking about because I understand as a manager who has people that you don't understand working for you, right?
Hmm.
I understand that you want to be like, just get in line, like just do what you're supposed to do. You have a job description, just do all the things. And I'm going to do a performance review on you. And you're going to go by the same book as every person that works for me. So just figure it out, right?
Yep.
And that's just not how it works with Gen Z or even just with people. We did a ton of leadership training in our job,
Hmm.
like so much leadership training, and it all said the same thing. Everybody needs to be coached differently. Everybody has different things that motivate them. We did, I mean, all the different things that we did. And it does make a difference. It is worthwhile to focus, especially for Gen Z, but for anyone who works for you. You will get more out of them. You will get more work out of them. You will get more loyalty, more productivity if you come at them in the way that the language that they speak, right?
Yes,
So if you
absolutely.
have somebody who's like, I need everything to be fun. All right, well, let's figure out how we can make this a competition, right? If you have
Yeah.
somebody who is just super sensitive and they just really can't handle feedback, then we're going to come at it from a different angle. You can't go in guns blazing. You're
Yeah.
going to have them quit. And these Gen Z kids, they will freaking quit. They're like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. So, what do we have to do as the managers of Gen Z to keep them? And I'm not saying most people would be like, why do I need to keep them happy? It's like, because it costs a lot of money to replace
Because the
people.
guy that you hire right after them is gonna be the same.
Mhm.
He's gonna be
And
the
then you have to
same. You're gonna
figure
have
him
the
out.
same needs
Mhm.
and you still like, you're gonna it's a human thing. You have to cater to that's part of management, and that's the
Mhm.
part that I don't think that even our generation is taught super well is
No.
management is not like when you climb the ladder, it's like not like, "Oh, I've gotten here, so I deserve this respect and da da da." Da." You serve everyone below you. And it
Yes.
is your responsibility to teach them and to provide opportunities for growth and develop them so that when they get to where you are, they can do that for the people that come after them. And
Mhm.
in order to do that, as a real vague, overarching way to say it, I think that we have to seek to understand. You have to
Mhm.
seek to understand the needs of the person that really and truly you work for, right? Like as
Mhm.
your manager, it's my job to manage you in a way that gets productivity out of you.
Mhm.
So I am now working for you because you work for me and it's a circular thing that happens. So
Mhm.
I need to seek to understand who you are, what makes you tick, all the things so that I can get the most out of you. That is a management skill. And so, with that being said, if you seek to understand what it is their needs are and then provide the opportunities to make it so, it's a mindset thing like anything else. From a management perspective, you have to have the mindset of how do I get in the Gen Z brain and make it work for me?
Yeah. Make yourself a servant leader. You have
Yeah.
to serve these people. That was really smart. I think that a thing that is very important for this too is to set clear expectations. I think that's an overarching thing for this generation. I mean, for anybody in the workplace, setting clear expectations is huge, but for this generation, they need clear deadlines. They need to know what's going to happen if they don't hit that deadline. They need
But
so much of that.
they
Mhm.
need more than just you're gonna be in trouble or you're gonna get written up or you're gonna get
Mhm.
fired. They need to
Yeah.
understand the why. So
Yes.
taking the
Mhm.
time to explain like, "Hey, listen, I really need you to get this done by Friday at 5 o'clock, and I want you to understand why that's important because if I don't have it by Friday at 5, then when I go into a meeting Monday morning and I don't have it, and I
Mhm.
haven't had time to review it, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's not just the personal consequences for that person, it's the fallout and
Mhm.
extended consequences of the actual work not being done. They need to see the full picture, and
Yeah.
I think that we cut corners in that in management sometimes. Just do
Mhm.
what I said, because it's your
Right.
job. Don't ask
Mhm.
questions. It's above your pay
Yes.
grade. But
Mhm.
Gen Z don't operate like that because
Yeah.
they don't give a shit until you give them a reason to. And
Mhm.
that's fair.
Yeah, it is. And that's why I'm saying, like, all of this we are saying pertaining to Gen Z, but it really is just respectful to any of your employees to treat them this way because you will just get better results out of them. I remember we had a boss who was like, just get this done, right? And then it wouldn't get done in the time frame that she had in her brain, right?
Mhm.
And then we have failed even though we didn't know we were failing. And so then after that it was like, we need a deadline. She'd be like, all right, do this. And we're like, what's the deadline? And she's like, I don't know. And it's like, no, we
No,
need a
no, I
deadline.
have to know because you're gonna be mad if you don't have it by
Yeah.
this
Mhm.
time because you feel like it should have been done. So just give me a deadline. So and you know
Mhm.
what? The second she started doing that, she got so much more out of us, even if we didn't
So
hit the
much more.
deadline, right?
Yeah.
Like, because we all
Mhm.
knew that the deadline was set well before the emergency hit,
Yes.
right? Like, it was
Right.
not an emergency, but,
Mhm.
like, if I'm not gonna be able to hit that deadline, at the very least, you need to be communicating where you're at, what you're stuck on, if you need help, and, being able to
Mhm.
get there so that there is no emergency. And it just did a really good job of holding us accountable, but also opening the lines of communication when there were blocks happening that were going to prevent us from setting the next
Mhm.
person up for success, whether that was our boss or our teammate or whatever. Like most of the jobs that we did, and I would imagine it works in most business, right? Everything flows to the next person to be able to do their part. And if
Mhm.
you are blocking the process, nobody after you can do what they need to do. It's even more frustrating if people don't know why or what
Mhm.
they can do to help. Because the fact of the matter is, a lot of people really would be willing to help you if
Mhm.
you just open your mouth and say, "Hey, I'm stuck."
Basically, we can as managers do better, right? We can as managers, I would be nervous to hire anybody onto our team, right? Because I know exactly how you and Mallory tick. I know exactly how to coach you. I know exactly how to get the most out of you. I know all of those things. And I knew it before I hired you into this business because I'd worked with both of
Yeah.
you.
It'll be interesting when the time comes that there is a new player on the team that
Yeah.
you're like, I got to figure this one out.
Yeah,
Like, because that'll be a growth opportunity for you
it is.
in
Mhm.
management. I mean, not to say
Mhm.
that it's the first time you've ever had to like learn somebody new, but
No.
in this
But in my
company,
own business,
yeah,
yeah, and because now it's a big deal, right?
yeah,
Like, when I'm working for someone else's company, I really do want to make sure that anybody who works with me, like, I want to figure out how to make them better, right? Like,
yep,
and make them feel like part of everything and all of that stuff is very important because they're other humans that I'm dealing with. But like with my own business, I have so much more at stake on it. Like, I
yeah,
still want to treat everybody wonderfully, but also we have work to do and we have numbers to hit and we have,
yep.
clients to help and it's all on my shoulders, right? There were other people to bail me out before. So, yes, it's a big deal and I can't imagine at this point hiring because I think that it would be so freaking hard, you know?
Well, it would just be a lot of work
It would
on
be
you.
so
Like
much.
right now,
Mhm,
mental load, it's simpler for you because you've already mastered those things about the people that work directly for you. When
mhm,
you have to do that with somebody new, it's you
mhm,
have to do the job and there's a whole nother job of figuring out that person and then adjusting this workflow to that. And it is
mhm,
a lot. So I'm on one hand, I think we started this conversation. It felt like we were just dogging Gen Z and then it became a management issue, but it's both. It's both. We
mhm,
as humans, regardless of your generation, have to stop being so stubborn in the get on board with my way. This is how it is. And we all have to be
mhm,
open to dealing with other people's expectations and
mhm,
other people's perspective of reality. Because I think that's
mhm,
a big thing between the generations is that all of our perspectives are different
mhm,
of the same one actual reality. And
mhm,
if we can take a step back and put yourself in somebody else's shoes, be a little bit more empathetic and figure out how to work together instead. It doesn't matter who's right. It doesn't matter
mhm,
whether, the perspective of boomers and their sense of loyalty and all the things and the put your head down and work or the workaholic epidemic that happened with the Gen X generation or the I don't want to live to work mentality of Gen Zs and some millennials. Like, it doesn't matter who's right or who's wrong. The fact of the matter is, all of these different perspectives exist, and we have to be able to interact with and get productivity out of all of them.
mhm.
So it
We do.
takes working together on that. And if that
Mhm,
means that, older leadership have to figure out how to parent after the fact and teach
mhm,
some of these soft skills to get what you need out of them, that's what's required. And Gen Z is going to have to buck up a little bit and take some ownership of like, okay, I missed a couple of these things. Learn to ask questions, ask
mhm,
for help, seek the guidance to understand what you're not bringing to the table. I mean, there really is
mhm.
responsibility on all sides.
Yeah. And I think the thing that I will say about if I were going to hire someone today, right,
Hmm.
I would be completely happy to put all of the work that might be needed into a young person who might not have all these soft skills if they were extra, like an excellent interview, first and
Hmm.
foremost, and they had extra personality and really creative, like I could tell that they were a hard worker type person. It's like if you have some of these foundational things, I am going to be happy to
Work
help
with
you
you on the
get where you're
rest.
going.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you're Gen Z and you're going, I'm not even getting interviews right now, I'm out of college and it just doesn't seem it's like work on the social stuff, the social side of it, the interview, work on being an excellent interview. And if you have the things that these millennial Gen X bosses are looking for, I think that they're going to be willing to put the work into anything that you might need if you still need those things, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be worth their while for sure.
The one thing I would add to that is you got to be hungry. You have to
Mhm.
be hungry, and I don't mean like you need a snack, right? Like, I don't even mean you need to be hungry for the next promotion or climbing that ladder. You have to be hungry to learn and to grow. And being hungry to learn and grow means being okay with the discomfort that comes along with that growth, right? Like, you
Mhm.
have to welcome it. So, it truly is a mindset shift. And if I were going to hire somebody tomorrow, that is what I would be looking for. I want to work with people who still want to learn
Mhm.
because I still want to
I
learn,
agree. I
right? Like,
agree.
there's
Mhm.
power in that. It's not
Mhm.
enough to be educated enough to be able to teach. You have to be able to continue to learn and want to. Hungry
Mhm.
for knowledge. And I don't even mean just like knowledge and skill sets of like hard skills. I mean, like the nuances of personal relations. Like,
Mhm.
you nailed it. Like, work on that social stuff. How do
Mhm.
you interact with your
Yeah.
peers? How do you interact with leadership? How do you interact with teachers at school? Like,
Mhm.
if you can really focus on those things and not make excuses, not have mom, fighting your battles for you or struggling through those conversations, figure out how to navigate your interpersonal relationships and stay hungry.
Yep. And build new ones. I recommend networking heavily if
Yeah.
you're Gen Z or anybody looking for a job because it's really impossible. I just had a conversation with Macy who was on the podcast some ago and she talked about that it's hard to find a job right now. You know, you have an education and it's still hard to find a job. And she was saying she's learned a lot of new stuff. She was mentioning that it's hard still. And it's because AI is taught the filters that the
Yep.
company needs your applications and your resumes to have. And I don't think anybody is putting out their age limits and stuff like that because that's discrimination.
Mhm.
But they might not even be looking at your resume because you don't have those soft skills on there potentially.
Yeah.
So,
It's an
because it might
interesting
be what
thought.
they're flagging. I don't know. I want for everyone to have a fair shake in this job market because it is really hard and but I'll be interested to hear any feedback about this, what y'all think, what
Yeah.
Gen Z thinks, what anybody else thinks about
Well,
this.
we're certainly not the experts. I find
Mm-mm.
it to be really interesting conversations. I really like understanding people and why they are how they are and how they got there and what we as society can do to bridge the gap and to make things work and work harmoniously, right? Because I
Mhm.
think that's a big problem is that everybody's just pointing the finger and complaining about what's wrong instead of going, okay, how can I help fix this?
Mhm.
And it takes a mindset shift for all of us to get somewhere with it. And
Mhm.
we will. We will because we have to, but
Mhm.
I hope that we do that with a little less stubbornness.
Yeah. Definitely. Well, wonderful. Thank you for talking to me about this. This was a fun
Yeah, it's
conversation.
good.
Yeah. All
I
right.
like it.
Well,
I'm interested to hear feedback, so you guys leave a comment.
yeah, for sure. We'll be back next week with Lynette is coming on, and
Yeah.
we're excited for you guys to hear from her. So we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys all next week. Bye.
Bye.